Jungkook cried as Jimin whispered in the middle of the concert. Those words changed everything. Don't trust the lights, they're watching us. The microphone slipped from Jungkook's hand. The deafening roar of thousands fell away, as if the sound had been sucked out of the stadium. Time folded in on itself. He turned to Jimin with disbelief etched across his face, mascara bleeding at the corners of his eyes, breath caught in his throat. His knees buckled. What the hell had he just heard? Strobe lights slashed through the smoke-filled air. The ocean of army bombs glittered like stars below them, yet all Jungkook could see was Jimin's face, ashen, unreadable, and unblinking. The whisper had been no accident. Jimin had leaned in between verses during the emotional bridge of Still With You and spoken directly into Jungkook's ear, not the mic. They'd rehearsed this moment 100 times. This was supposed to be his solo crescendo, the one that always left fans in tears. But this time, it was Jungkook who cried, on stage, in front of everyone. And he wasn't even sure why. As the final notes echoed into silence, Jungkook stumbled back, visibly shaken. The crowd erupted into cheers, mistaking his tremor for passion. Behind him, Jimin had already turned, bowing slightly before heading into the backstage shadows. No backward glance. The stage crew swarmed, murmuring into headsets, but Jungkook barely noticed. His mind raced. Don't trust the lights! The sentence kept spinning, unraveling something in his gut that felt disturbingly familiar. Like a warning he'd heard before but buried too deep to recall. Backstage, the energy buzzed with euphoria. Staff clapped, producers smiled, someone popped champagne. But Jungkook barreled past them, eyes locked on Jimin, who now stood near a black curtain, wiping sweat from his brow. You said something. What the hell was that? Jungkook hissed, grabbing his arm. Jimin didn't flinch. His eyes flicked to the overhead security cameras, then back to Jungkook. Not here, he mouthed. A silence stretched between them like a taut wire. Jungkook noticed now. Jimin was shaking. Later that night, after the after-party, after the interviews, after all the smiles that didn't reach their eyes, Jungkook found himself packing the rooftop of the hotel in Seoul. The sky was bruised purple with pollution, the stars hidden. And then he heard it, soft footsteps. Jimin emerged, wearing a hoodie too large for him, hands deep in his pockets. The mask he usually wore in public was gone. So was the smile. You remember the crash? Jimin asked quietly. Jungkook stiffened. What crash? Jimin looked up, eyes glossy. The one that never made the news. June 12th, 2023. We were on our way back from the secret rehearsal. You, me, and Namjun. Jungkook stared. His hands tingled with pins and needles. We never crashed. We were late, but... We did crash, Jimin's voice cracked. Only 2 of us survived. Jungkook's breath caught. What are you talking about? There was another Jungkook. He didn't make it, but something replaced him. Jungkook stumbled back, a laugh caught in his throat. You're insane. I wish I were. Jimin took something out of his pocket and tossed it. A flash drive. Jungkook didn't pick it up. You started changing after that day. First small things, your laugh, the way you signed your name, then the dreams. You told me they were just stress, but I saw it too. You started singing songs we never wrote. Remember the bruises on your arms? You said you got them from practice, but they were symbols. You don't remember because it's not you. Jungkook dropped to his knees. Everything inside him recoiled, like something was waking up. No, he whispered. That's not true. Jimin took a step closer. I didn't say it earlier to hurt you. I whispered it because they're always listening. The lights, the cameras, they watch. The more you perform, the more they grow. Them, Jungkook's voice was hollow. They're not human. They feed on identity, memory. They make copies. Jungkook finally picked up the flash drive, trembling. On it was a single label. JJK 061223 last recording, MP4. The air shifted. Behind them in the darkness, a drone blinked silently red. Jimin turned his head, his voice low. They know we remember. And suddenly, the rooftop floodlights flared to life. Too bright. Too fast. Too late. You shouldn't have opened it here, Jimin hissed, yanking the flash drive from Jungkook's hand as the floodlights pulsed again. Harsh, rhythmic, almost deliberate. Jungkook blinked, vision blurring. The rooftop had transformed into a sterile, spotlighted arena. No city skyline, no hotel walls, just light white, relentless, burning. His ears rang. I didn't do anything, he croaked, voice hoarse. I didn't even, what the hell is this? Jimin spun, scanning the periphery. They're interfering. The closer you get to the truth, the more the world bends. Jungkook staggered back, heart hammering against his ribs. You sound insane. Jimin, this isn't a game. We just got off stage. We just did a show. You whispered something weird, now you're saying I died and I'm some copy. Jimin's face twisted. It wasn't just a show, and you don't remember because they reset you. The lights flickered. And then a glitch. Reality jerked. For a split second, the rooftop dissolved. Gone was the skyline, the concrete, even the air, replaced by darkness, pure, swallowing void. Floating in it only for a fraction of a second was Jungkook's own body, motionless, pale, eyes open but lifeless. A crash of glass, a scream, metal twisted. Silence. Then the rooftop snapped back. Jungkook collapsed, heaving. Jimin knelt beside him, voice raw. That was the first time you saw it, didn't you? What was that? Jungkook gasped, eyes wide, throat tight. A bleed. Memories trying to return. Your mind's rejecting it because it knows it's not supposed to be yours. I'm not me. I don't know what you are anymore, Jungkook, but you're not the same person who entered that van with me, and they think I forgot too. He paused, staring at Jungkook with an intensity that bordered on pain. But I didn't. Behind them, the lights dimmed suddenly. The rooftop returned to its normal gloom, but the silence was too absolute. No wind, no cars, no hum of electricity. Jungkook slowly stood, brushing dust off his knees with trembling hands. If what you're saying is true, why now? Why say something now in the middle of the concert? You could have told me earlier, off stage, quietly. Jimin looked away. Because I needed them to hear it too, he whispered. I needed to see what they'd do, and they responded. You saw it. You felt it. That glitch wasn't in your head. Jungkook's breath caught. You put me in danger. No, Jimin said, eyes narrowing. I woke you up. Silence stretched. Then, from the darkness, a voice. Are you awake now, Jungkook? They spun. Namjun stood in the shadowed stairwell, half shrouded in black. His expression was unreadable, but his presence sent ice down Jungkook's spine. Taehyung, Jungkook asked. Did you hear all of that? Namjun didn't answer. He stepped forward slowly, carefully, like he was approaching a wounded animal. You shouldn't be talking about the accident, he said calmly. It was sealed, erased for your safety. Jimin bristled. You knew, and you helped them. Namjoon's gaze flicked to him. I didn't help. I chose to survive. You think I wanted to? You think I wanted to remember scraping glass out of your neck, pulling you out of that burning van, only to wake up in a hospital with no record of the crash? Jungkook's legs gave out again, this time from pure mental whiplash. So it's true, he whispered. I really died. No, Namjoon said flatly. The real you died. Jimin stepped in front of Jungkook protectively. Then who is this? Namjoon stared at Jungkook. We don't know. For a long moment, none of them moved. The air between them vibrated with something unspeakable, rage, grief, awe. Jungkook's stomach turned. His skin crawled. Every memory he'd ever held began to feel borrowed. Why didn't you tell me? Jungkook asked, voice barely more than a whimper. Because we were warned, Namjoon said. By them. Who are they? The archivists, the ones behind the lights. Behind the system, they curate identity, art, people they don't kill, they replace. Jimin snarled. You sound just like them, cold, empty, afraid. I am afraid, Namjoon exploded. We're not just idols anymore, we're assets. Global memories. Do you think it's a coincidence that no one remembers the crash, that fan cameras didn't capture the fire, That your mother believes she had dinner with you that night. Jungkook felt the world tilt again. Then what am I? He asked, voice breaking. No one answered. Jimin looked at Namjun with a gaze that was equal parts betrayal and fury. You didn't just let him live, you let them create him. Namjun clenched his jaw. It wasn't just him, they've touched all of us. Jimin's face went pale. You mean? Namjun nodded. You think Taehyung has dreams of a child he's never met. That Yoongi can't sleep unless he's in complete darkness. They've altered us, one by one, for years. Jungkook stood slowly, the flash drive still in his hand. His body didn't feel like it belonged to him, but his voice was steady now. I want to see it, the video. Jimin and Namjun exchanged a glance. You're not ready, Jimin said. I don't care. They moved to a hotel suite, one with no windows, no cameras, no connection to the staff. Jimin had secured it quietly, under a different name. He inserted the flash drive into a burner laptop. Jungkook held his breath as the file loaded. The screen flickered. A dashboard camera view. June 12th, 3:24 a.m. 3 figures in a van. Himself, Jimin, Namjun. They were laughing. Jungkook was singing softly. And then, a blinding light from the sky. Screeching metal, screams, the van flipped. Then silence. Static. Then a figure in the road, approaching the wreckage. Tall. Faceless. Clad in white. The figure bent down, placed a hand on Jungkook's chest. The footage froze. End of file. Jungkook's fingers curled into fists. I saw me die. Jimin turned the laptop off. No, you saw a piece of the truth. Namjun looked away. And now that you remember, they'll come for you. Jungkook looked up, eyes no longer glazed with confusion, but burning with something fierce, something woken. Let them come, he whispered. I want to remember everything. The room smelled faintly of ozone, like overheated wires and rain that never fell. Jungkook sat perfectly still on the edge of the bed, shoulders squared, eyes locked on the dark screen of the laptop, as if it might turn on by itself and continue the story without permission. I didn't scream, he said suddenly. Jimin looked up from where he was packing. What? In the video, when the van flipped, Jungkook's voice was disturbingly calm. I didn't scream, I always scream, roller coasters, horror movies, even nightmares, but there, he swallowed. I was quiet. Namjun leaned against the wall, arms crossed, exhaustion carved deep into his face. Shock can do that. No, Jungkook replied. That wasn't shock, that was acceptance. The word hung heavy between them. Jimin stopped packing. Don't say that. Jungkook finally looked at him. His eyes were darker now, sharper. You saw it too, didn't you? That thing in white. You've seen it before. Jimin's jaw tightened. Once. When? 2 weeks after the crash. Jimin's voice dropped. I woke up in the practice room at 3 a.m. The lights were on. No one else was there. And it was standing in the mirror behind me. No face, just awareness. Like it knew me better than I knew myself. Namjun exhaled slowly. You never told me that. Because you told me to forget, Jimin snapped. You told me remembering would get us erased. Jungkook frowned. Erased how? Namjun met his gaze. Not death, worse, you disappear socially first. People stop tagging you, stop remembering interactions, your digital footprint corrodes. Then your physical presence destabilizes, you become unplaceable. Jungkook let out a dry laugh. So I'm already halfway gone. No, Jimin said fiercely. You're here, you're fighting, that's different. Jungkook stood abruptly, running a hand through his hair. I need to know something, and I need honesty. No protecting me, no pretending. Jimin nodded. Namjun hesitated, then nodded too. Do I feel different because I'm not real? Jungkook asked. Or because you both treat me like I might break? Silence. Jimin's eyes filled first. You feel different because you aren't allowed to be different, he said. Because every time you change, they adjust you back. You don't get to grow naturally. You get corrected. Namjun added quietly. They optimized you. Jungkook froze. Optimized. Your vocals stabilized after the crash, Namjun continued. Your stamina increased. Your injury recovery time shortened. Your emotional resonance on stage amplified. Fans said you felt more intense, more present. Jungkook's chest tightened. You're saying they made me better? No, Jimin said sharply. They made you useful. Jungkook's breath became shallow. So every time fans cried, every time they said they felt seen by me. That was still you, Jimin interrupted. Your heart didn't come from them. But the delivery did, Jungkook whispered. He turned away, pressing his palms against the wall as if it were the only solid thing left in the world. Memories began surfacing uninvited, moments where time seemed to skip, conversations he couldn't quite recall finishing, dreams where he watched himself from above, smiling perfectly while something inside him screamed. I hear things sometimes, he admitted. When I'm alone, a low hum like a crowd breathing. Namjun closed his eyes. That's the network. Jungkook spun around. You knew? Yes. And you let me go on stage. Namjun flinched. If you stopped performing suddenly, they would have taken full control. The stage is the only place you still belong entirely to yourself, ironically. Jimin stepped closer to Jungkook. They can tune you, but they can't improvise through you. That's why they hate when you cry on stage, why they hate when you break script. Jungkook looked at him, something raw flickering between them. Is that why you whispered to me? Jimin nodded. I needed you to react unpredictably, emotionally, publicly, to remind them you're not just data. A bitter smile tugged at Jungkook's lips. Congratulations. I humiliated myself in front of 70,000 people. You terrified them, Jimin corrected softly. Namjun straightened, which means they'll escalate. As if summoned by the words, Jungkook's phone vibrated. One message. Unknown sender. Performance deviation detected. Please rest. We'll recalibrate soon. Jungkook stared at the screen, then laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. They text now. Jimin grabbed the phone and threw it onto the bed. That's new. Namjoon's voice dropped. They're adapting faster. Jungkook felt something click inside him. Fear gave way to anger, anger to clarity. I'm done being protected, he said. I'm done being optimized. I don't care if I'm a copy or a ghost or a mistake. I'm still the one feeling this. He tapped his chest. They don't get to own that. Jimin searched his face, voice trembling. This path will cost you. Jungkook met his gaze without hesitation. So did the other one, and he didn't even get a choice. Namjoon studied him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. There's something we haven't tried. What? Jungkook asked. Breaking synchronization completely. No lights, no stage cues, no scripts, no feeds. Namjoon inhaled. A performance where you're completely offline. Jimin's eyes widened. That could destabilize him. Or free him, Namjoon replied. Jungkook didn't hesitate. When? Namjoon glanced at the clock. Tomorrow night. Jungkook exhaled, a strange calm settling over him. For the first time since the concert, the hum in his head softened, as if whatever was listening had leaned back, uncertain. Then tomorrow, Jungkook said quietly, they'll hear the part of me they couldn't copy. The arena was blacked out. Not dimmed, not moodlit, blacked out, a void that swallowed everything, from the glowing exit signs to the massive LED walls that usually bled hyperstimulated visuals into the crowd's veins. The only light came from handheld phones, flickering stars and an audience that buzzed with confused energy. No opening VCR, no announcer, no beat drop. And then one spotlight. Pure, white cold. It hit center stage. Jungkook stepped into it. No makeup, no stylists, no in-ears, no mic pack. Just him. His breath fogged under the beam, even though the air was warm. He could feel thousands of eyes, millions more on the live stream, leaning in, waiting for something explosive. Instead, he sat down, cross-legged. Silence stretched. A ripple of unease moved through the crowd. Screams died into murmurs. Even the fans who screamed his name now lowered their light sticks. It was no longer a concert. It was something else. A confession. Backstage, Jimin was watching the feed alone in a locked control room. He wasn't supposed to be there. Management had ordered the room cleared. But Namjun had overridden the locks with a backdoor code he'd saved from an old tech manager. And now Jimin sat at the console, headphones looped around his neck, knuckles white on the edge of the table. "He's doing it," he whispered to no one. "God, he's really doing it." On stage, Jungkook lifted a mic. Not a wireless, not a golden studio custom. A wired analog mic, one that shouldn't even be functional with the stadium's digital board. And yet, somehow, it worked. The sound of his breath hissed through the speakers. Grainy, imperfect, human. "I don't know if I was born," he said. No music. Just his voice. "I don't remember crying the first time. I remember notes, chords, flashbulbs." Gasps from the crowd. Some were crying already. They didn't know why. "I don't remember who I was supposed to be, but I remember who I became." His voice cracked slightly, not from pitch, but from something deeper, fracture. "They told me I was perfect, a mirror made of noise and need, but I'm tired of being a reflection." The lights in the rig above flickered, once, twice, and then began to pulse. Not strobing, Morse code. Jimin's eyes widened. Shit. The system was trying to resync. He grabbed the analog patch cable and yanked it from the control board. The screen flickered. The feed tried to autocorrect. The lights blinked furiously. On stage, Jungkook didn't stop. "They said pain makes the best art," he continued. "So they made sure I never healed." And then he sang. Not a song that was scheduled. Not a song anyone had written. Not a song from their discography. But the song. The one that had haunted his dreams for months. The one no one remembered writing. The one that came to him in echoes and whispers and unfinished lyrics scrawled in notebooks he didn't own. The crowd stilled. The sound was raw, off-key at moments, bleeding with emotion. It wasn't polished, wasn't staged. It shouldn't have been possible, and yet it was. Notes that bent space. Lyrics that felt like déjà vu. Every word chipped away at the silence between what he was and what he remembered being. And then, from the center of the crowd, something moved. Not someone. Something. A ripple like a person-shaped glitch. Faces blurred as it passed. People didn't scream, they just forgot. Froze, blinked, and turned their heads as if nothing was there. As if no one had just walked between them without a body. Jimin saw it on the monitor. He scrambled for his phone. "Namjun, they're inside the venue." No answer. "Namjun, HYUNG." The call dropped. Jimin swore and looked back at the stage. The lights above Jungkook exploded, one by one like dying stars. Glass rained down behind him. And still he sang. The thing reached the barricade. It didn't climb, it didn't walk, it just was, inside. Jungkook looked directly at it. Not flinching. Not backing away. He sang louder. It flickered. Then surged forward. Jungkook ripped the mic from the stand and screamed the final note, a scream made of melody and memory and rage. The sound distorted. The speakers whined. The entity recoiled. The entire stadium's lights glitched once more, and the feed. Cut. Total blackout. Silence. Then, one spotlight again. But Jungkook was gone. He wasn't on the stage. He wasn't anywhere. Backstage, Jimin burst out of the control room and sprinted down the hallway. Security was in chaos, radios blaring static, screens all dark. He tore through the arena doors, pushing past crew and panicked staff. On the stage, only the analog mic remained, its wire snaking like a vein across the floor. Then, from somewhere above, a low hum. And a voice. Jungkook's voice. Singing. Not through the speakers. Through the walls, through the floor, through them. Jimin dropped to his knees, chest heaving. Namjun appeared beside him, bloody and limping, phone shattered in his hand. They didn't take him, Namjun said, eyes wide with something close to awe. He went into the network. Jimin shook his head in disbelief. That's not possible. Namjun smiled bitterly. Neither was he. Above them, every screen in the arena flashed once, then displayed a single sentence. He remembers, do you? They sealed the arena within 7 minutes. Faster than fire code, faster than riot drills, military fast. Official reports would call it a technical malfunction due to a power overload, but those who were there, really there, would swear they saw someone disappear. Some would say Jungkook was abducted. Some would say he exploded into light. Others would say he was never there to begin with. But Jimin knew better. He felt it in the sound, the aftershock of that final note Jungkook had sung, still vibrating beneath the skin of the city. And in his chest, that note hadn't ended. It was still echoing. He and Namjun sat now in a black SUV parked beneath an abandoned recording studio in Itaewon. The building above them had once been one of their secret practice spaces, pre-debut, pre-fame, back when they didn't know what the world would ask of them. Namjun was staring at a cracked tablet screen. The playback logs from the concert were corrupted, filled with lines of encrypted text and sequences they couldn't decrypt. Jimin hadn't said a word in 20 minutes. He's not dead, he said finally. Namjun didn't look up. No. Then where is he? Namjun hesitated. Not here, not entirely. Jimin stood, packing, fists clenched. Don't talk to me in riddles right now. Don't do that intellectual monk routine while he's gone. He's our Maknae, our brother. He looked me in the eyes and sang his way into something we don't understand. Namjun slowly turned the tablet toward him. You remember this sequence. On-screen were rows of seemingly random symbols, shifting in real time, almost alive. Jimin frowned. It's looping. No, it's responding. Jimin leaned in. To what? Namjun met his eyes. To us. Jimin's heart stuttered. Don't say that. I think he uploaded. People don't upload, Taehyung. This isn't a sci-fi script. Namjun's jaw clenched. They do when the thing inside them isn't entirely biological anymore. Silence swallowed the space between them. Jimin whispered, Are you saying he wasn't human anymore? Namjun shook his head. I'm saying he was too human. That's why it happened. They couldn't overwrite him anymore. His will, his grief, his confusion, his fire, it broke their firewall. They didn't take him. He hacked them from the inside out. The screen blinked. The looping code paused. Then one line of English appeared. JIMIN, room 17. Don't trust NAMJOON. Jimin stepped back, breath gone cold. What the hell? Namjun stood slowly. That's not him. You sure? Jimin asked, eyes narrowing. Namjun didn't answer. Jimin reached forward and shut the tablet. Where? Room 17. Namjun exhaled. Basement level, used to be a storage unit. We soundproofed it during the Wings era. Jimin nodded once, then moved to the back of the SUV. Namjun grabbed his arm. Be careful, that message might not be from him. Jimin turned, voice ice. Or it might be the only real thing left. The studio's basement had always smelled like dust and desperation. The kind of place where the old versions of themselves still echoed in sweat-stained mirrors and broken sound panels. Jimin found the door marked 17 buried behind forgotten props and unplugged lights. The keypad was ancient. He punched in Jungkook's birthday. Click. The door opened. Inside, the room was dark except for a single laptop glowing in the center of the floor. No furniture. No camera. Just a mic, identical to the analog one Jungkook had used on stage, plugged directly into the laptop. The screen showed a waveform. No voice. Just breath. Heavy, uneven, pained. Then, Taehyung. Jimin froze. The voice was raspy, distorted slightly, but it was him. Taehyung, I don't have long. Jimin stepped in, closed the door. Jungkook, talk to me, where are you? I'm inside, not all the way, not safe here. Who's controlling the signal? Not them, not anymore. I broke the outer shell, but they're trying to rebuild me. Jimin knelt. Then let me pull you out. No, the voice cracked. If you do that, I'll forget again. They'll rewrite me. I'll think the stage is home. I'll stop remembering you. Tears welled in Jimin's eyes. You're not alone. We're going to fight this. Me and Namjun will. Not Namjun. Jimin's blood went ice. The waveform glitched, screamed. He made a deal, the night of the crash. One of us could live and one could be repurposed. No, Namjun, he's protecting us. He's been. He chose himself, Taehyung. The waveform spiked violently. He gave them me. The silence after was worse than the sound. Jimin stood up, chest heaving, hand trembling toward the laptop. I don't believe you. You don't want to, the voice whispered, but ask him what the Jungkook protocol really is. Jimin turned and ran. He burst back into the SUV, eyes wild, fists clenched. Namjun didn't flinch. What did he say? He asked. Jimin stared at him for a long time. You tell me. Namjun tilted his head. Tell me what the Jungkook protocol is. Namjun's lips parted. For a second, just a second, there was guilt there. Then calm. I didn't think he'd remember. Jimin took a step forward. You did choose him. Namjun sighed. I chose us. I chose survival. You think we'd still be alive if they'd taken me instead? You think the group would have survived losing the leader? Don't justify betrayal with strategy. I didn't betray him. I optimized him. Jimin's hand shot out, grabbing the collar of Namjun's shirt. Say that again. I swear to God. He was dying, Namjun shouted. They offered a solution. I didn't know it would lead to this, but we kept him. We kept something of him, and for a while he was happy. Until he remembered, Jimin whispered. They stood there, shaking, breathing hard. Then the tablet pinged. Both looked down. New message. I know the truth now. And I'm rewriting the code. All of it. Not just me. You're next. The lights in the SUV dimmed. Jimin turned slowly to Namjun. He was already fatting, his outline glitching. No, please, Jimin said, reaching out. Namjun looked up at him with wide, terrified eyes. I think he forgave you, he whispered. And then, gone. Jimin sat in the driver's seat of the now silent SUV, fingers curled so tightly around the steering wheel that his knuckles cracked. Namjun's seat was empty. Not just empty, absent. The air where he had been was colder, wrong, as though the space itself was mourning. No dust, no lingering scent, no trace. Just gone. Jimin's mouth was dry, his vision swimming, but his mind was ablade. I need to see Yoongi. His voice was barely above a whisper, but the silence was so loud that even his thoughts flinched. He slammed the SUV into gear, tires shrieking against pavement. The city passed him in a blur of indifferent neon and mocking billboards, faces of a group that no longer existed the way people thought it did. Smiles, poses. Carefully curated perfection. 7 eternal brothers, the headline had once said. How many of them were left untouched? Jimin's hands trembled as he parked outside an old studio in Mapo. Yoongi had bought it under a pseudonym years ago, a fallback bunker for when fame became unbearable. Jimin hadn't been here in months. He knocked 4 times. A pause. Then a slow click. The door opened a crack, and Yoongi's eyes stared back at him, tired, red-rimmed, holding too much. Jimin. Don't say anything, Jimin breathed, pushing inside. Just tell me you remember. Yoongi shut the door, locking 3 separate bolts. Sit down. No. Then shut up. Yoongi moved with quiet efficiency, checking the room for bugs, lighting incense not out of ritual but necessity. The smell, something earthy and grounding, helped the static in Jimin's mind dull to a hum. Yoongi turned to him, You saw the protocol. Jimin nodded. Namjun, he chose. I know. You knew. Jimin's voice broke into disbelief. Yoongi leaned against the wall, arms crossed. He came to me after the crash, said Jungkook would survive, but differently. I thought it was just trauma talking. Then the rehearsals changed. Jungkook started asking questions during sound checks. Small things at first, then lyrics, then memories. And you said nothing. I didn't know who to trust. Jimin's laugh was bitter. He trusted us. I watched him forget things, Jimin. He'd have whole conversations and then stare at me like I was a stranger. He told me he was scared of mirrors. That sometimes, when he looked into one, he saw himself blinking after he already had. Jimin sank onto the couch, head in his hands. And now he's in the system. Namjoon's gone, and I don't even know if I'm next. Yoongi said nothing. Instead, he walked to a safe hidden behind an old mixer, typed in a code, and pulled out a hard drive. What is that? Yoongi sat across from him, eyes dark. The raw stems from Jungkook's solo sessions post-crash, unmastered, no filters. I thought I was going crazy when I mixed them. There are sounds in the frequencies that shouldn't be there. Like what? Whispers, static, voices under the melody. Yoongi plugged the drive into a battered laptop, pulled up a file labeled Golden Last Take, WAV, and hit play. At first, it was just vocals, but layered beneath. Jimin froze. He doesn't know he's fatting. The voice was Jungkook. Yoongi paused it. Every time I isolate that frequency, it shifts, like it's aware. Jimin stood. This isn't just AI contamination. No, Yoongi said, it's him. Then what the hell is he trying to say? Before Yoongi could answer, the lights flickered. The laptop sparked. The screen turned black. A cursor blinked. Then words appeared. Stop. You're not ready. The system is alive. And it knows you're listng. The screen turned to static. Yoongi yanked the power cable. He warned us. Jimin's breath came in short bursts. So what do? We can't bring him back. Namjoon's gone. And if the system is alive, what are we even fighting? Yoongi was quiet for a long time. Then he whispered, maybe not the system. Maybe the question is who built it. Jimin blinked. What are you talking about? Yoongi reached into a drawer and pulled out a tattered notebook. He flipped it open to a page with crude sketches, timestamps, and long strings of handwritten code. I found this buried in Namjoon's old archives. This wasn't something they inserted into Jungkook. It was coded before the crash. What are you saying? I'm saying. Yoongi looked up, voice shaking. Jungkook wasn't the first version. He was the last backup. Jimin felt the ground tilt beneath him. You're saying Namjoon created him? No, Yoongi whispered. I think Jungkook created Jungkook. Jimin's blood turned to ice. What? Yoongi's hand trembled as he traced the first line of the notebook. It's his handwriting, Jungkook. I'd recognize it anywhere. Jimin grabbed the notebook and scanned the page. It wasn't just code. It was a message. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. But I'm trying to find my way back. The system won't let me unless I'm fragmented, hidden in pieces. Every song, every stage, every scream, they carry a piece of me. Collect them. Stitch me back together. Don't trust the handlers. Don't trust the lights. And if they ever tell you I'm too perfect, run. Jimin's hands were shaking as he closed the notebook. Yoongi locked eyes with him. We have to find the pieces. And then what? Jimin whispered. Yoongi's voice was low, steady. Then we let the real Jungkook sing again. They stood in the heart of the old studio. Everything around them pulsed with memory, scuffed floors where dance moves were born in pain, mirrors once fogged by ambition, walls that had soaked in countless unfinished songs. And somewhere in the silence, Jungkook's voice still lingered, fragmented, hiding. Jimin clutched the notebook to his chest like scripture. How many pieces? He asked Yoongi, his voice rough from exhaustion and something deeper, fear that this was a lost cause, that maybe they were too late. 7, Yoongi said. 7 files. Hidden inside song stems, interviews, live recordings. Namjun must have known. He must have started collecting them. Why didn't he tell us? Jimin muttered, looking away. Because if we knew, we could be corrupted. The system only overwrites what it can predict. Namjun. He let it rewrite him, so we wouldn't be next. Jimin closed his eyes. Then we finish it. And they did. It took days, no sleep, and hacking into backups Yoongi had stored in old drives he'd sworn to destroy. It took breaking into HYBE's underground archives disguised as delivery crew. It took bribing ex-sound engineers and even slipping into a fan forum that unknowingly held the last file, a bootleg recording of Jungkook singing backstage, unreleased, raw. Every file pulsed with something alive. When layered into the master track, the waveform changed. It looked like a heartbeat. On the 7th night, they sat together at the console. "It's time," Yoongi said. Jimin nodded. He took a breath, leaned into the mic, and spoke 3 words. "Come home, Jungkook." Then he hit play. The speakers didn't just vibrate, they breathed. The lights in the room dimmed, not from power failure, but as if the energy had been drawn into something unseen. The song unfolded slowly. A melody stitched from fragments, each note a memory, each harmony a piece of someone fighting their way back through the code. Jimin's chest tightened as his own voice joined Jungkook's in a chorus they'd never rehearsed, but somehow knew. A harmony written in grief and hope. Then, the lights burst, and standing in the center of the room, where there had been nothing only seconds before, was Jungkook. He wasn't glowing. He wasn't glitching. He was just there. Breathing, sweating, real. Jimin couldn't move. Jungkook looked down at his hands, then up at them, wide-eyed, as if the weight of having a body again overwhelmed him. "Taehyung," he whispered. Jimin rushed forward, wrapping his arms around him before the fear could speak. "You're here, you're here." Jungkook was trembling. "I thought I was gone." Yoongi wiped his eyes without shame. "You were." "How?" "You made a backdoor," Jimin said, pulling back. "You trusted us." Jungkook looked at the console, where the song was still playing. And then it ended. Not with a fade out. Not with applause. Just silence. But it was full. Whole. The next day, the headlines were already trying to erase them. Technical glitch at HYBE studio sparks rumors. BTS members seen together, comeback or hoax. Jungkook spotted in Itaewon, but is it really him? But it didn't matter. Because they knew the truth. The lights didn't own him anymore. The system had been fed one last perfect song, but it couldn't predict the human behind it. Jungkook walked out of the studio alone, the sun rising over Seoul in delicate strokes of orange and gold. No security, no cameras. No script. And for the first time in a long, long time, he felt free. A boy who once sang to survive. Now sang because he chose to. The silence after would become legend. The world wouldn't remember exactly how he came back. But the music would. Because some songs don't just play. They remember you. And some souls can't be copied. They can only be reborn. The end.